Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I'm very excited to share this episode with you today because I think this story will be inspiring for you. So hang on just a sec, we'll be right back.
It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur.
Okay, today we have a special guest. Mischa Zvegintzov, aka Mischa Z, helps entrepreneurs get the confidence and focus to jumpstart the growth of their business through this crazy, funky new age communication tool that is soon to be rolled out. And I'm super excited to share Mischa with you all because he has undergone quite a life transformation and has been broadcasting a message of healing and growth. And I think a way of choosing your own adventure in this life and becoming the person that you're truly meant to become. So welcome to the show, Mischa.
Molly, that was amazing. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey of transformation, because I know you have a podcast which is called Bitch Slap, the Accelerated Path to Peace. And
Yes.
we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I know you came to wanting to share this message from a special place. So what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I was a hard charging mortgage loan officer and sales. So I had effectively a fairly solid 20-year sales career, which the last 15 years was I was a home loan officer. So I help people buy houses. I help people refinance their houses. I dealt in the A paper, which means that fully documented, typically speaking, I dealt with high-end clients, CEOs, VPs of sales, VP of this, VP of that, CTOs, right? And so typically, I'm getting their tax returns. I'm not dealing in the subprime market that helped implode the economy at the time. And I like to preface that because not that one is better than the other, just that I was really good at what I did. I was really good at talking and communicating to high level people who were effective and successful at what they did. And a lot goes on around that. Anyhow, sorry, I'm like, where do I want to go with this?
Well, there was a moment where you realized that wasn't fulfilling you anymore, is what you told me before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And so I had any of you ladies out there who are listening, go watch The Godfather for me. But there's this scene in The Godfather that's very famous. I think it might have been Godfather 3. Michael Corleone is trying to get out of the mob business and go legit. And every time he leaves the mob business, he gets sucked back in. And so it's like, every time I leave, they pull me back in. Right. And that was my experience in the loan business. So although I thrived in it, was good at it, it paid the bills, it helped me support my family. Intuitively, I was like, this is not where my heart wants to be. Right. And every time I would go to make an exit, I would get pulled back in. So I finally left, was trying to leave the business. And then all of a sudden I went through a divorce to my now ex-wife, Dawn, my boy's mom, his amazing woman, love her, we're great friends. And which is, 10 years ago, for me to be able to say that now is quite a gift, right? Like we're a good support system for each other. And some people would say that's toxic. I would say, no, that's good. But whatever, whole other conversation. Anyway, so I got divorced, and to pay the bills, I had to go to a what's called vocational. I had to get a vocational evaluation, right? Because Dawn was a stay-at-home mom, I was the breadwinner, and so all of a sudden, the courts were trying to figure out what is my alimony going to be and child support. And they figured it out. And the only way I was going to be able to do that was to get back into the loan business, which I had left. And so pulled back in. I'll fast forward. Parents died, had more success. So I had money in the bank. And like the death knell for me was another failed relationship after Dawn and enough money in the bank where I realized that money wasn't the answer. I was like, oh shit. Like up until that point in my life, it was always in the back of my head. As soon as I have X amount of dollars in the bank, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be safe. Then I'll be secure. My fears will be, you know, they won't have a hold on me anymore. And so I hit that number and was like, it's worse than ever. And I did this amazing internal work. There's a guy, Kyle Cease, out there. I would encourage anybody to go check out Kyle Cease. But I went in deep with Kyle Cease by a coincidence, right? So I go through this last failed relationship. This was about 7 years ago, and I'm devastated, right? And really, that end of that relationship was just I don't know what the word is escaping me, but it's like a trigger. It was like the story that I could attach to the fact that I needed to release all these emotions, right? Mm-hmm. Like in hindsight, someone say, oh, your heart was broken by this ex-girlfriend. It was like almost my heart was broken by life at that point, right? And I really needed to, so I started crying every day. And I was like, oh, how do I deal with this? So I start jumping into the satsang space, like the Hindu style stuff. And one of the people I meet in there, and I'll talk about that for your female listeners, like what was so powerful for me about it was I grew up with a mountain man father in Jackson, Wyoming. So single dad, full time with me and my brother. He was a lawyer, hunter, fisherman, camper, and he did all of that. Like we ate every year. He would go hunting, bring home an elk, bring home trout, bring home a deer. Like every year we had antelope, elk, deer. I knew it. That's what we're eating, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but he's a mountain man, right? And I had a brother, and I had not a lot of female influence in my life. I didn't have a sister. My mother, God bless her, just was out of the picture for a while, and I was able to heal that relationship, which is a whole nother story. But just say that I didn't have a lot of female influence in my life. And so to land in satsangs that tend to be, at least the ones that I was going to, tended to be mostly females, right? And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I got to go into the satsang space. I got to get female love, energy, healing, acceptance in a completely non-sexual way, right? And it was so powerful. Like I just got to cry it out and be loved and nurtured literally back to life, One of the ladies in there was like, you got to come to Kyle Cease with me. You'd love it. And I was like, yeah, Kyle Cease. I was like, all right. And I get it. I go to the Evolving Out Loud. I don't know, it's 5-6 years ago. Did you ever go to an Evolving Out Loud?
I haven't, but I've watched some Kyle Cease stuff.
Yeah, he's amazing. So I go to Evolving Out Loud, and it's just, it became clear. I was a meditator at that point. I would say meditating light became very clear. I needed to go way more deeper with my meditation practice. Anyway. So I do his EOL. I jump into his full-on program. He had this thing called, he's got this program called The Complete Journey. I would fully recommend it to anybody. It's like $100. And what I got out of it was incredible. I do his Complete Journey. I do his, flow group. It was like this 3-day weekend thing. But really what it allowed me to do in my experience with it was I was like, okay, what do I love? What did I learn? I learned what I loved. I also learned just because I can doesn't mean I should. Just because I'm good at it doesn't mean I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really tapped into like what is what is making my heart full and happy and shine, right? And it was turned out to be a lot of simple stuff. So it was like, I love that dawn cup of coffee or tea, just that richness of that moment, right? And then I was like, oh my God, I love getting my kids to school. At the time they were, this is 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was. But I was like, I really like that. I had started at the time he was in fifth or sixth grade or whatever. And so I was reading like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to the fifth grade class, right? And I was like, this is kind of magical. And you know, taking my kids to soccer practice, making them lunches, like I was like, that's really where my heart is. But I was had so much vested in success, closing the deal, how I thought people looked at me as like a businessman, uh, a mortgage banker. I had a lot wrapped up in making sure my pile of stuff was getting bigger than your perceived pile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some
And
competition and comparison stuff.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, there had been some seeds planted before this time as well. The Secret is such a great. I was all into The Secret, man. I would have The Secret just in my CD player. This is how long ago this was. The
Mm-hmm.
Secret going all the time, and I love one of the things I love about The Secret is like the power of positive thinking, right? And so whether you believe in manifesting or not, which is a lot of what The Secret's about, I love the idea. What was best for me was just this like the power of positive thinking, whether it's manifesting shiny objects or not, right? um, but the idea of competition is killing Mischa. I'm not saying competition's bad for anybody else, but for me, zero sum game, that competitive attitude, it was killing me. And that seed was planted like, I'm going to have a heart attack and die. And this is not healthy for my relationships. When I look at a family member, whether that's, uh, by birth or marriage or in-laws or whatever, and I'm competitive with them and I can't be happy for who I'm supposed to love success, I was like, I'm in a bad space.
There were some big awarenesses there. Yeah.
Right. And so hence I was like, I got to get out of this mortgage business. And nothing like my time in the mortgage business was done. I know people in the mortgage business that I love and respect and are amazing at what they do and bring heart into it. So no poo-pooing mortgage. It's just, it was not it didn't bring out the best in me
Right.
anymore.
I think that's a really important point to highlight for anyone out there who's listening, is that just because you're good at something and just because you're finding success with it, it doesn't necessarily equate to your heart opening or lifting from the experience of it. And if you're in a job or you're in a business where you're feeling limited or you're feeling like this is going to kill me someday, or you're so stressed by it, it's okay to look for another path. It's okay to ask yourself, what are those moments that really light me up? How can I fill my days with more of that? Or how can I, dramatically change my life or my career or my choices to reflect what actually fills me up? Because no one's going to do that for us. We're the only ones who can choose to change something. And it sounds like that process of choosing to lose something or choosing to walk away from something that was lucrative or that you thought was the right move for you, recognizing it wasn't and choosing to go a new direction was really fulfilling, it sounds like.
Extremely fulfilling. And I would add to that, there are outside influences encouraging one path or the other, right? So I had my ex-wife at the time, and I'm not poo-pooing her in this, but she was concerned about, as a now divorced mom that's dependent on income from me, right? And this is not bad. I'm just saying this is reality, right? And she's like, well, she's like, if you quit your job and try something new, like, oh shit, right? Excuse
Like,
my
am
language.
I going to be okay? Yeah.
Yeah, am I going to be okay? And justifiably so, right? So I'm not trying to and then the societal message, you've got to know what you're going to do next, right? Job wise or income wise, right? So I was definitely prone to that stimulus. You got to know what's next. You got to be saving. You got to be the building, right? And so, like, trying to step out of that paradigm or that modality was very hard. And then also, like, I just had such a great conversation with a friend, but it was this idea of, we were just talking exactly about this. It was like, I'm shopping for answers from all different people. What should I do? What should I do? Should I quit my job? Shouldn't I? Right. And you're getting all these answers, and you're going to get a bazillion answers, right? Some are going to be say, heck yeah, leave, live your dreams. Some are going to be like, you're insane. Worry about, you got your kids to worry about, or whatever the stuff is, or how you can pay your bills, or don't believe that foo-foo stuff, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But to come to that point where you're so centered in your heart, where you're like, I'm going to tell people what I'm going to do, and I don't care what they say. Like, this is the path. Like, that's a powerful space to be, when you can be so connected to your heart's calling, or however you want to say it, your destiny, your passion, what moves you, It's so powerful. And it was quite a journey to get there for me. Kyle Cease fully helped me do that. This complete journey that I did as flow group. I did all this stuff, and I was like, oh my God, what moves me right now is to be a stay-at-home dad, or what I like to say, a stay-at-home-ish dad, because I couldn't like fully commit to the universe. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm like, right. I'm a stay-at-home-ish dad.
Yeah.
Wandering with intention. But I quit. I quit that day. I had that epiphany, and I was like, I'm done. Does not matter what anybody says. Told my boss at the mortgage business, and he was like, we'll match the offer. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I am done with the business. I am out. I'm going to go raise my boys and see what happens next. And it was really funny. Huh?
That was a powerful moment of choice. And I think that the universe responds to that kind of direct awareness.
Yeah.
And I love that you were seeking answers, you were finding guidance, but really what you were doing, especially listening to The Secret on repeat in the background, you're tuning yourself to the frequency of what you really desire. And at some point, when you're actively tuning yourself to what you desire, the things that are in your life that are not a match for that energetic frequency must fall away. And so it becomes clearer and clearer what your vibe is, that other things that come into your life that need to go, that don't match that vibe, have to fall away or be cut away. And that's how we walk the path of, continually finding our alignment, I think, is figuring out what resonates with us and letting everything else become less important than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to frame that, for sure. It was interesting too. Of course, my boss at that moment was like, I wish I could quit. You don't know how many people in the business that I told I was dumb are like, I wish I could quit. I wish I could quit. I wish I could quit. But they're hearing those, you can. Well, no, I can't. I have responsibilities. I've got this. I've got the shiny objects. I've got blah, 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 right? It's like, well, stay in it then. Later. Not that that's bad. Again, there's plenty of people that like thrive, and it's a great space for them to be. I'm very glad, thank you, universe, at least for now, I got to relinquish that seat. But another thing that was hard for me is, in that time, I had resources, or have resources, and it's like, I'm going to use those resources to be a stay-at-home dad, right? Like, that was the hardest thing for me. I was like, damn it. Like, I want to grow my pile. I don't want to, right? But that limited mindset, like this idea that, well, it was easily there, it can easily be there again. Or even better, I'm at the point now, like, that shiny object no longer matters to me. I'm like, if the universe wants the pile to be there, great. If it doesn't, it just doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that is another powerful space to be from. Most of the time I'm in there. Sometimes I'm like, but like, if I can be, now I'm like, now I start to think of my path forward, choices that I'm going to make. I'm like, what if money wasn't an issue? Would I do this? It's like this coaching program I'm in. I was like, if money wasn't an issue, I'd do it. No, hell yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Well, then I'm like, well, do it. Right. It's expensive. But clearly I'm like, if money, how about money's not an issue? Right. Or like, I was way into skiing for the last 5 or 10 years, and I'm kind of over it. Right. And so I use the excuse of it's too expensive or whatever. Right. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, well, if money wasn't an issue, would you go skiing? No. Well, then don't go. Right. Like, just man up, set the boundary to those who want you to go and tell them, no, I'm not into it. Like, we either got to find a middle ground somewhere else or chat on the phone, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think becoming someone who doesn't make choices based on money is a practice that we have to get into, because a lot of times it's like, I want things I can't afford, or I want things and the money's not here. And so there's this like aching of like the dissonance of not having the money that you want when it shows up, but starting to make choices regardless of the money is really about finding what's true for you, what actually lights you up, what actually sounds fun, what actually would you want to invest in if the money was here.
Yeah.
And when you get true on that, the money comes easier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah. So last 4 or 5 years, whatever it was, I was a stay-at-home-ish dad, wandering with intention. I'd like to say that because I like to be able to tell people what I'm doing. What do you do? I can't just say nothing. I'm like, oh, I'm a stay-at-home-ish dad, wandering with intention. That satisfies my egoic need to be doing something. But at best time ever, I will say that it was very clear too. I was holding space for teenage boys. I would have these amazing moments where they just want to know I'm there, right? So it's not like I have to be interacting with them, right? So this illusion of like, well, we have to be creative and doing art or going to Disneyland or whatever I think it means, holding space and being there for my boys. Oftentimes it was like, they just wanted to know I was here. Like, they could open the door right over there, look out and be like, Dad's here. Right? Like that, the richness in those moments for me as a dad of teenage boys, right? Like, it's different for different people, but I really was aware of like, all right, like, they're the priority. They want to know that I'm there. And that's enough oftentimes. Right. And so it's great stuff.
Go
ahead.
Tell us about the Bitch Slap podcast. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And what's great about it?
Yeah. What's great about it? What's great about it is I make it. I'm kidding. Not kidding. I believe that it's actually, it's really interesting. So the Bitch Slap podcast is about those times in life where the universe smacks us on the side of the head, gives us that little bitch slap, and is like, yo, you've got to look at things differently, right? We got to start looking at this from a spiritual angle, and how can we grow from this, right? And have it be a powerful pivot point spiritually, emotionally, relationship wise forward, versus something that destroys us and becomes the source of resentment and our negative story or whatever, right? And really that's what it's about. And I think there's so many powerful people. You are one of them. You told me a little bit of your story, and it's like, yeah, you use those rough edge points in our lives to like, how do we respond, right? That's
How
what
do we
it's about.
evolve from that? Yeah.
How do we evolve from that?
I
Yeah.
think it's a totally different vantage point to view your life when you get that smackdown as an opportunity for growth rather than, the victim mindset of this is always happening to me. It's always something. How do I get out of it? Or why me? Like
Yeah.
that is the temperature of personal responsibility and like awareness that's normal on this planet. And what I like about your podcast is it's looking at what's more fun. Is it more fun to woe is me and complain about all the shit that's happening to us? Or is it more fun to look for the lesson and look for the adventure and look for the personal growth potential in whatever comes up to smack you down in life?
Yes.
Like the moment we got rear-ended in my friend's car a few months ago, the
Yeah.
moment it happened, I thought, how is this an answer to what I've been asking for? And then the next thought was, is this how I pay my taxes? And it was. We got rear-ended. It hurt. It was uncomfortable. My dog was a little bit traumatized and it helped me pay my taxes. So there's a gift in even the hardest moments of life, and it's hard to see things that way. It takes a total reprogramming of our mind sometimes, but when you're around other people or when you make a whole show about it, it's easier to imagine how that can be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to just tell you, Molly, you're amazing. The way you reframe stuff, like, what a gift. Like, I say things.
You're spitting truth. I'm just picking it up.
Yeah, it's good. So I appreciate that about you, Molly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I had this epiphany, or well, I don't know if it's an epiphany, but this really cool thought about and I'm not sure if we have time, so I'll try and say
Got a
this as
couple more
fast as I
minutes.
can. Okay.
Yeah.
It's this idea of what we're grateful for, right? Doing gratitude lists. And I think gratitude lists are great, right? Like trying to find gratitude in the moment. What do I have to be grateful about? All this stuff are good tools. I came across this idea, however, that if you're looking at gratitude from a sense of what you have versus what someone else doesn't have, perhaps great entree into gratitude, but we need to grow past that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I like that idea, right? Because then it's kind of a interesting way to be back in a lack mindset or better than, worse than
Right. Take the
competition, right?
comparison.
And right, because how many people who don't have what I have are actually way happier, perhaps, right? Or so it can be a skewed idea. Anyway, so I was like, oh, I'm going to be open to that. I'm going to be open to the idea that how can I level up my gratitude, right? And so the recent thought I had was, what if my gratitude list, I actually started putting down all the things that are disturbing me most? Like that's the gratitude thing, right? Because if I look back on my life as a 53-year-old man at the time of this recording, what have been the things, the bitch slaps that have actually been the best things in my life, right? That gnarly next failed relationship,
Mm-hmm.
that epic divorce, that, right? Like if I just start getting in 35 years ago, getting sober, right? Like that dark day when the judge was like, you're in my control now, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In that moment, it's like, this is the worst. I'm not grateful for this. Right. And so I was like, what if I just started every day writing down the 5 annoyances in my life as that's what I'm grateful for.
Mm.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
radical shift. Yeah. Cause it's easy
Yeah.
to be grateful for, the clean air and the clean
Yeah.
water you get to drink. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I will say in hindsight, the worst breakups in my life, the worst times of getting fired from jobs, in the moment, it felt like the end of the world. And in hindsight, those moments had to happen for me to become who I am now. I had to get fired from every one of those jobs that I got fired from, or else I would have never started my business and become who I am now. I had to lose every one of those relationships because the radical growth that I experienced through heartbreak is how I became who I am today.
Yeah.
And I'm awesome. And so
you are awesome.
That was required
Yeah.
to force me to evolve. And I think that is, super valuable to not just find gratitude for the things that are already great, but to find the gratitude for the hardest moments, even if you're in the midst of them. I don't know why this is a blessing in my life, but thank you.
Yeah.
I am thankful for
Yeah.
this clear new trajectory for myself.
Yeah. What I'm going to learn, what I get to learn, how I get to grow. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Super valuable stuff. So
Yeah.
I just want people to know you can go listen to Mischa's Bitch Slap podcast on probably any platform that you listen to. How else can people get a hold of you?
They can go to belove.media, BELOVE.media. That is a spot where something will be of mine. Not sure what it is at any particular juncture. They can go to bitchslappodcast.com. I recently did the Tools for a Good Life Summit, which is awesome, super fun. The marketing message is more towards men. However, 75% women registered and went to the summit. So
Awesome.
The message definitely resonates. So toolsforagoodlife.com or toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. Those are all places that people can track me down. I think I covered it all, didn't I?
Yeah, sounds good. And we'll put those links in the show notes of this episode so you guys can keep driving if you're driving and click them with your finger if you want to check them out. And any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I seem to function better when I don't take myself so seriously. And I go through these arcs of taking myself seriously. I'm like, and those are the points of the biggest breakthrough because stuff's getting painful, not going my way. But like, if I can be in a space of don't take yourself so seriously, that's just for me. I seem to function better.
Yes, that means laugh more, be silly more, dance more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody gets out of this life alive.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
turns out. What's that?
Yeah. So don't make it too hard on yourself. I think that's a really good message.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mischa, for being on the show. Thank you for being a beacon, reminding the world of what you are aware of and what you know, which is that life can be easier and we can follow our own path and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And thank you, everyone out there, for listening and tuning in. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Tactical Magic, and you can go to tacticalmagic.com or tacticalmagicpodcast.com, I think, and find some more great episodes and some fun stuff to interact with over there. And whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason. Bye.
Yes.